So I'm just checking once again if I'm audible, if someone can type yes in the chat box. Thank you, Gargi. Thanks a lot. Thank you. I'll just admit a few more participants. All right. So first of all, welcoming all of you and thanking all of you for trusting this space, trusting my work. And please be rest assured, this is a safe space for you. And before I go ahead, while I conduct the class, while I share the information, there might be certain things that come out for you, or you might realize certain things about your life. So stay calm, make note of these things. You can type down your questions and I'm going to cater them at the end. Okay, so I'll move ahead with the first. I'll just wait a minute. All the participants are joining in right now. So I'll just wait a minute.
I was looking for the settings button.
Right side पे है setting.
It was यहाँ पे था.
तो वहाँ ले जा जाके.
Requesting you to mute your mics. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay. So I'll just begin and I'll allow other participants for the next 5 minutes. Okay. So let's go on to the first slide where we talk about how do we form the core lens for a relationship. Okay. So the first relationship that we experience on this planet is the one with our mother. We enter the womb of our mother and we start looking at the world through her lens. There is actually, there's no identity of the child for almost about, 4 to 5 years of their early lives. And they constantly regulate with the heart field of their parents, especially their mothers. So it is almost looking at life through the lens of our parents when we start realizing whatever life has to offer in terms of our health, in terms of our relationships, in terms of everything outside of us. Okay. It's her innermost feelings and desires is what our external world looks like. Just like as an adult, the external world to me is everything that I look, that I absorb, that I make sense of, that I want, that I don't want. Similarly, when I am in the womb of my mother, whatever is her inner landscape is actually my external world. And it is as significant to me as you would think your external world is significant to you now. So it is a very significant period, and it's the most primal phase of our lives where we start looking at all the aspects that is going to affect us when we take birth. It's like a filter through which we see and perceive life, through which we look at our family, our future, and all of our relationships. This is an inevitable lens. This is not something that is dependent on any choice. This is something which is inevitable. It is part of nature. And if I am entering the womb of my mother, I am going to experience whatever she is experiencing within of her. So this is an inevitable lens, but what happens is we might or might not be aware of it. It is possible that I am experiencing similar feelings. I am looking at the world almost like my mother, but I might not be aware of it. The form might be different, but the feelings still kind of are in sync. Okay. So it's inevitable, and it's the first template with which we take birth. So whenever we think, just a second, just allow someone. Yeah. Okay. So what do we mean when we say the first template, and why is it relevant? So the first template, or as I love to call it, the blueprint of our lives, are right there, starting with our life in the womb of our mothers. So just like any blueprint is the core uh, to which any foundation is built, similarly, the experiences that we have in the womb and in our early childhood becomes the first template, the blueprint on which the foundation of our life, our relationship. Requesting all of you to please mute your mics. Thank you. It's not even actually visible to me when I share a presentation. I can't see whose mic it is. So, okay. So it's the blueprint on which the foundation of our lives are built. This template guides us and governs us in all of our relationships. This relationship can be the one with my friend, with my boss, with a thing that is very important to me. And of course, we'll talk about marriage, and we'll talk about the shifts that happen. So we'll get to understand this at a deeper level as I move ahead. So let me go to the next slide. And now let's dive deep into a case to understand this on a more experiential level and how it impacts the life of an individual. All right. So we go to the example. The name is changed for confidentiality purposes. Okay. And this is the last entry that I'm allowing. It's almost 7-8. All right. So let's go ahead with the example. Please mute your mics. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right. So Linda, a 32-year woman, came with the following issue. She said, I feel very depressed and low since last 1 year. I feel as if I have no strength left for anything in life. I'm stuck in my marriage. I got married 3 years ago. I don't connect with anyone in my current family, including my husband, and I keep feeling lost and unseen. I love my husband, but I constantly find myself thinking about leaving him. I'm feeling helpless and angry. I also remember when she walked in, her body, her face was exhibiting this fatigue and this tiredness. It's almost like there was no energy left in the system. Linda later also expressed that she felt that her husband should be blamed for all of her experiences. This was like a constant thing that used to bother her. And she said that she actually wanted her husband to come along with her for therapy. But since he didn't agree, she had to come all alone. So, when she first walked in, it was her firm belief that all of these issues are actually not her issues. And it is simply because of, that miscommunication between her and her husband. And it's because he is not understanding, it's causing her the pain. So since she was really struggling, she gave it a try. She came here, and when she started working, So let me go to the next part. So for all of you who doesn't know, this is a trammogram, okay? And whenever we work on identifying patterns or issues in the family that might be impacting the life of an individual, of the client now, Traumagram is one of the most refined methods that is used by trainers like Mark Woollin, by trainers like Dr. Gaurav Deka, and we have seen repeatedly the healing effects when we work through identifying the patterns in a traumagram. Okay, so all the circles would be females and all the squares would be males. Okay, so this is Linda. To her left is her elder brother. Her elder brother was stillborn. Okay, and this is Linda's mother. This is her father, and this is their parents. This is her mother's parents, and this is her father's parents. So as we worked ahead, we realized and we came to know that Linda's mother had a stillborn son at the age of 31. So when Linda's mother had her first son, she was 31 and her first son was stillborn. So she was devastated, still in the grieving phase, and she got pregnant with our client Linda 2 months after the death of the firstborn. Linda's father was emotionally unavailable to himself and to her mother as he didn't know how to handle such a huge grief. Linda's first impressions, imprints, the first template with which she was going to look at life was getting formed during this time. So it is of immense importance that we know how was our mother feeling when she was pregnant with us. Did she feel cared for? Did she feel secure and safe in her relationship? Did she feel good in her body, in her health? Is she available to take care of herself and the child that she's going to give birth to? It was also observed that Linda got depressed exactly during the same age when her mother got pregnant with her. So I would like all to take all of you again. So Linda came when she was 32 years old, and this issue started appearing in her life when she was 31. It is now seen that her mother also experienced a huge grief at the age of 31. So it's almost like at the same age when Linda was 31, she started enacting the symptoms, the feelings, the body, Linda's body started exhibiting things that she was not aware of, and she simply felt depressed, low, and all she wanted to do was blame her husband and put it on someone because it was too much to bear. So let's look at the inner landscape of Linda's mother when she was pregnant with Linda. Okay. So as you can see, since it was only 2 months when after she lost her firstborn, you can see how she was going through a cloud, a soup of various emotions. Like there was unbearable grief and loneliness. She was feeling depressed, feeling unseen because the father was emotionally unavailable and did not know how to handle this huge grief. So he simply disconnected. And the wife, Linda's mother, is now feeling unseen. there is a huge void of losing a child, and there's huge grief that needs to be processed, that needs to be expressed. And if it is not expressed and if it doesn't find a way out, it stays in the body and it is passed on to generations. It is passed on in the form of imprints, in the form of experiences that has imprints on ourselves. And this is something that is now proven by the field of science called epigenetics. There are specific chemical tags, chemical markers that get attached to the sperm and egg cells, and the child simply starts absorbing whatever the inner landscape of its mother has to offer. So, as the child is developing in the womb of her mother, as Linda is developing, as she is forming her body in the womb of her mother, she is also experiencing all these feelings of her mother. Her mother felt that there was no one to express. Her mother felt that there's no one who can understand. She felt rejected. She felt unacknowledged. And when Linda went back and spoke to her mother, she also realized and she also came to know that her mother often used to blame her father, but she never really got to say that to him. She never really got to express that to him. And it was all within her. And this was all the environment in which Linda was going to take birth. Don't worry, we will come to the part where how will Linda heal. But right now, it's very important for us to know what happens and why do we experience certain things in life which doesn't have a logical explanation, but they still keep on happening and they still keep on impacting us. They still create emotions which might not make sense or fit into our current reality. And hence, we feel constricted, we might feel lost, we might feel, you know, a loss of drive, motivation. There can also be a lot of self-worth issue. There's a hit that takes that, the self-worth takes because of all of this, as if there's so many clients that come up and say, I feel I'm good for nothing, or I feel he's good for nothing, and there's nothing that can be done. And there's a lot of sadness and there's a lot of giving up attitude that comes up because the main reason is there's no logical explanation to it. All of these experiences, when they were happening, Linda's brain was not developed enough to make sense of it. She was only a child. And hence, everything that she experienced became a part of her cell memory, became a part of her body, and it can act up whenever it has to act up, but it's very it's not possible to remember these experiences consciously because the frontal part of the brain that makes sense of these experiences, that can form an experience into a story, into a narrative, this is developed only when we are at the age of about 14 or 15. Okay, so till then, there are a lot of experiences that we don't remember consciously, but they are there in the body. And if we use proper tools and techniques, we can reach those experiences, we can connect to our bodies. Our bodies are really intelligent, systems. So we can get in touch and we can get a glimpse of these experiences in our inner eye. And that's how the healing begins. This is the first step where we connect and where we drop the judgment and we start looking at our life and we start owning our lives. Okay. So, any of you, whatever symptoms, whatever issues you might be experiencing, please look at them without judgment. That is one thing that I would request all of you, because the more we have judgment, and when I say judgment, it can be towards me or towards my partner or towards my family. It can be something like, I am good for nothing, or I don't know what to do about this. Maybe my life is like this only. Or it can be, it's because of him, it's because of her, it's because of them that this is happening with me, and it's always going to be like that. So when we look at our experiences through the lens of these judgments, we never get to go deeper. We never get to see the root cause, and we also never get to release and heal from it. Okay. So that is one thing that I would request all of you. Look at everything that you experience, even if you're going through a disease, or you're going through a low mood, or if you're going through something which maybe no one understands, just look at yourself kindly, drop all judgments, and try to look back and see how have I grown up, and how was my environment like, and try to see if you get something. If you don't, it's fine. Okay, sometimes we really suppress these experiences because it overwhelmed us so much. Think of this child, she must have been so overwhelmed to go through all of these experiences while she is so small and about to enter this planet, about to experience life, right? So Linda had no idea that her depression was coming from her own life experience. She simply blamed her husband for her misery. This is because all these core templates are formed in our bodies and brain unconsciously at a time and age when we are not conscious of our individual identities and presence in this world. The mother and the child operate as one, and the child keeps regulating with the heart field and the nervous system of the mother. So, the way my mother's nervous system is uh, responding is exactly how my nervous system will learn to regulate and respond. Okay. So, for example, this is a very small example. For example, if my mother is scared of, say, cockroaches, okay, and whenever she looks at a cockroach, her nervous system freezes, and there's a freeze response, and she disconnects with her brain and her body, and the child is absorbing these messages. So it is possible that this child, when she grows up and she looks at a cockroach, she will immediately have the same response, because that is what she learned, and she realized, and she will not know this consciously. And there are so many things that we don't know consciously, but it still happens, and it comes from our perception of life, our perception of how we are ready to receive from the nature and from the world. Okay. The way mother feels exactly how the child absorbs life. This absorption doesn't just leave when we come out from the womb. They rather stay like strong imprints in our cellular field, impacting our gene expression. They keep governing our lives in the background, and we ignorantly keep looking outside of us for the solution to emerge. Okay. In Linda's case, her depression was activated exactly at the time when her mother was grieving, because her body remembered. So, here I would like to talk a little bit about this uh, age thing. So, there's there's this concept of ancestral clock. Okay. So, we have seen this in a lot of cases. It has been repeatedly, observed and written about over last 30 years now, that the ancestral clock is something which impacts each generation, and it is like coming from all the experiences that has been there in our family and that happened long before we even came. For example, in this case you saw that Linda experienced her depression exactly at the time when her mother was grieving for the death of her firstborn. And there are cases where we look back and we see how, say, if something happened to my grandmother at the age of 5, similarly, the grandchild might also go through something similar and significant at the age of 5 or 6. And this is something which again tells us that no matter how logical we get and how much we try to interpret things, dissect things, what we realize is that there are so many there's so much information in this body. It's not just here. It's not, the memory is not something which is just here. Memory is something which we actually carry all over in the body, each cell. And we have 50 to 70 trillion cells in the body. Each cell has imprints of experiences of some or the other member in the family system. And it might not make sense to always logicalizing things. It just doesn't make sense sometimes. It rather puts us into a worse stage. Okay, so if something like that is happening with you, drop the judgment, stop logicalizing, and try to look for answers which is beyond logic, where you can consider your whole being and not just your conscious memory, which might not remember so much that you have experienced in life, right? So I'll just discuss this slide, and then I'll see if there's any question before I go ahead. Okay. So we're talking about how the memory is not just this. Memory is something which is there in our entire bodies. Each cell that contains imprints, experiences, memories, which comes from my family system, my parents, and my parents, their parents, my siblings. It's like, if you can look at the whole family as a field, you will realize how much this body might carry. So each individual is born with 50 to 70 trillion cells in their body. Just like there's DNA in each cell, the imprints of all sorts of experience, good or bad. When I say all sorts of experience, what I mean is there is no distinction of good and bad here. When we look at an experience, we don't look at it from the lens of good or bad. We simply look at it like an experience. We see the impact and we see how this impact can be worked upon, or how this impact can be, if it is like a negative impact, how it can be reduced, how it can be worked upon. And just like there are so many traumatic events that we carry within us, there are also all sorts of healing experiences that we carry within ourselves. So it is only about being aware, dropping the judgment, being aware, and tapping into that healing part of us, and disidentifying and disassociating from the part that continuously pulls us into the experiences of emotions that doesn't feel good. Okay. According to the field of study called epigenetics, whatever remains unrealized, unspoken, unacknowledged, unexpressed, or hidden in the previous generations is passed on to future generations in the form of chemical markers in the cell and hence in the bodies. So, memory is actually the entire cellular memory field. Okay. So, now, whenever any of you look, whenever you are looking at memory, try to look at it as something which you carry in your entire body. It is not just this or just this. It's there in the entirety of us. And also, when we work through the modalities of family constellation in our therapeutic space, we have seen this repeatedly, that there are family secrets that come out, there are unacknowledged feelings, unexpressed desires, people, aunts and uncles who have been excluded for something that was not felt right by the family, and their stories have been hidden, not discussed. And what happens is, when something, as I said in the very beginning of this class, whenever something remains inside of the body and when it doesn't find a way out, there's no healthy form of expression, it simply passes down and it percolates to all the future generations. Okay. So what remains, I'm going to repeat this, what remains unrealized, unspoken, unacknowledged, unexpressed, or hidden in previous generations, it is passed on to future generations, and the impact is visible in their life, in some or the other aspect of their lives. And this actually brings me to a very interesting example. So this is the example where you all might have heard, must have heard about the story in Auschwitz where people were killed in these gas chambers, right? And what has been observed, that 3 generations later, 4 generations later, the people who survived, their lineage, when their 3rd generation and 4th generation, they experienced a lot of depression. Their cortisol levels, stress levels were very high at ages like 23, 24, 25, 30, different ages. At different ages, these people have shown up in the field of uh, therapy, and it's like they have said things like, I feel I will evaporate. Every day I feel like I will die and I can't sleep and I don't know what to do about it. I'm so scared. And when we worked with them, it was seen and it was revealed that there's these stories where their ancestors have been killed. And it was only when there was a healthy acknowledgement and realization, and when they were included again, that this client got that sense of relief. And after repeating certain rituals for few days, few months, she could come out of this feeling. Okay. So if there's if there are events, if there are things that make you feel that your parents or your ancestors might have gone through a lot of stress, or a lot of survival struggle, or abject poverty, or uh, or they live in a town where there's war going on and there's constant fear. So if you have stories where you can see that there were already lives before us that were in so much stress and the cortisol levels were so high that when we look at our own lives and we look at the stress levels that has gone in our bodies and in our lives, it makes sense. That is first of all. And because whatever has been there is what we are going to receive. But the good part is, once you realize this, once you become aware and include whatever has not been included, acknowledge whatever has not been acknowledged, there is a movement that happens within and outside. This movement that happens within, it causes a very significant healing effect on the client, and the opportunity to shift from here, to heal from here, it emerges for the client. It simply emerges, it starts emerging, because whatever space my body was, my body is taking so much space to accommodate these experiences, right? So once they are released, I have now space for something new. I can now maybe look at people in my life in a new way. And this is not something that can be talked and just talked about and given as an advice, and you'll take it and you'll go. It can't be done like that. It has to be realized, and whenever it is realized, uh, often there's no doubt. It just shifts the attitude and the reality of anyone who gathers courage to go in this path. Okay. Our brain is only 10% of our body. It is hence clear that we cannot consciously remember these experiences in our day to day life. But when we see, so how to locate, okay, how to understand if there's something that's constricting me or blocking me, and if there's something that I should probably work on. So when we see a continuous pattern, when we see certain symptoms or diseases showing up, we can pause, we can drop our judgments, and we can look for guidance from a trauma informed therapist or a constellation facilitator or a regression therapist who can help us finding the hidden dynamics and heal from them. So instead of settling into our own narratives of, like, this is what it is, I've tried everything, this is the best, this is my upper limit, or this is not my problem, this is their problem. So if we simply drop all of this and we are willing to look at the symptoms surrounding our lives, and if we are willing to take ownership kindly, with a sense of compassion and courage, we might find ourselves in a direction which will show us new possibilities to heal and to also tap into our own potential. Okay. Okay. So I'll just take a pause here. I'll stop sharing and I'll check if any one of you have questions as of now. I'll check. I'm just checking the questions. Shruti Verma has a question, right? She says, say something that happened to my grandmother when she was 5 and that happens to us. Would that be a recurring event, or does it get over when we cross that age? Shruti, can you come off my, or can you unmute yourself and maybe say this?
Yeah, so am I audible?
Yeah.
So I was saying that, like you mentioned, that something happened to our grandmother when she was 5 year old, and the similar thing happened to us when we are of that age, 5 or 6. So is that something like one time kind of a event, or does it becomes a pattern and it is carried forward, and it's like a lifelong kind of pattern for us then?
So, so you have to look it in a different way. Okay. So if you are experiencing symptoms that is similar to what your grandmother might have gone through, or if it is something that is happening again and again, then you might want to look for a therapist and work on it. And if this issue is related to what she has gone through, it will automatically be revealed to you and it will be worked upon. However, we cannot assume that if my grandmother had this and I will also have this, because there are so many children, and who will take what is something that only comes from experience and observation. Okay, for example, if I am experiencing say um, if I'm experiencing, say, cold, which is a recurring cold, okay, and no matter what I do, it doesn't leave, and it simply comes back again and again, again and again, okay, and whenever I have cold, I feel a lot of anxiety. So, say this is a pattern that I'm observing. So, now when I observe this pattern, and if I don't find a solution to it, I can go back and I can see where is it coming from. Why does my body needs to live so much anxiety in the first place? Why is this cold coming back again and again? Is it trying to tell me something which has not been seen before? And hence you start working with someone who is a professional, who has tools and who can guide you in this journey. But it is only observation through which we can understand if we need any work on it or not. Okay, so if it is bothering you, you can work on it and find it out. But if it is not bothering you, you can leave it. Okay, make sense? Hello, can you hear Shruti?
Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. These therapies definitely help for mental health of the client, but do they also help for other conditions like business growth, jobs, etc. stuff? So this is Ramya. So yes, Ramya, of course, they help for each and every aspect of our lives. And just like I mentioned, it is when we say mental health, it is something that is actually governing the whole, the entirety of how we perceive things in life. Okay, so I might have um, a lot of money, okay, and I might have a lot of job offers, but still it might be possible that I'm conflicted and I don't know which job to take. And even if I have a lot of money, I might find myself constantly feeling the fear of losing it, whether this will stay with me. So, in my experience, how am I relating to my business? How am I relating to my job? What does this job mean to me? What does business mean to me? And what is my attitude towards these aspects of my life? That is the core foundation with which we interact with nature. Okay, so it is something that helps for any and every aspect. If it is bothering you, if it is blocking you, if you feel that there's a conflict and you don't know how to make the best out of it, you will find benefit from these methods. Okay, make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. I think I have one more question. Just a second. There's one more comment which says there's no name. I also have a question. Can you come off mic and just say 91976 is the number? Or it is Oracle, I guess. I'll just check. This is a number. Wait.
Hi, it is me. Am I audible to you?
Yeah. It's audible.
Yeah, so I'm Mohit. I
Yeah.
don't know how this number is coming. I'll rename it. So Shruti, I
No
have
worries.
this question, that when you gave that example of cockroach, so I have put a question, though Oracle has tried to make me understand, but still I need more explanation. So I thought to put this question again. So
Okay.
when you gave that example of cockroach, that let's say if a mother is scared, scared, like she has a phobia of cockroach, that would come to her child as well. The only question which I understand, which I want to know, is that if this is a process, if this is how it happens, then why, if there are, let's say, 2 3 children of same mother, there are two three children, why they all do not possess the same attributes, same qualities? For an example, in your example only, if the mother has a phobia of cockroach, why it would come only in one child, and this happens, it would not come in all the child,
Yeah.
all three
Yeah.
children. So why does this happen? Because if it is the process, then it should happen with everybody, right?
Right. So I'll give you an example to make this more maybe relatable for you. So we all have distinct looks, right? So I am Shruti and I have a specific look. So you are Mohit, you look in a certain way. You might or might not have siblings. And what say, do you have siblings?
No, I don't.
Okay, okay. So, for example, I look different. I look like my grandmother. I have the nose of my grandmother, but my sister, she has the face of my paternal grandfather, and her eyes is similar to that, and all of us. So that's the first thing that can make you realize that even though we are born to the same mother or the same parents, the first distinction that you can see right there is that we don't look alike, we don't behave alike, and the gene expression is different for each individual. Even if, when there are twins, it is observed that the expression will be different. The fingerprints, for example, no two fingerprints can match, right? And hence it is only on observation when you find someone going through that phobia, and when you go and find a therapist and work on this issue, you will see where it is coming from. So it's not the other way around. If we think hypothetically, we will simply push ourselves into a web of events and into a web of experiences. So what we can do is we can observe our own lives. We can see what all are the things that has impacted me, and what are the major themes that my life has to offer. And if there's something which I am not comfortable with, or I would like to know more about or change something about it, I can find someone, work on it, and see where it takes me. Okay. So even though there are siblings to the same mother, they will still be very, very distinct. Okay.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Sure. Thank you for explaining.
No problem. Thank you. Right. So Linda has something to say. The order of children born into a family take on different burdens in the family. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'll go back to sharing my screen. Okay, I think I've answered all queries till now. Yeah. Okay. So how does Linda heal? Coming to the healing part. So when Linda started working, okay, the first aspect that we covered with Linda was working on her inner child. It's a scientific process to connect with your inner child, to anchor these fragmented experiences back in the body so that now my nervous system can regulate. Now my body can feel safe, and I can express what I want to. I can act on things that I desire for, and they don't scare me anymore. Okay. So that's the first step that we take with Linda, and we work on her inner child healing. Once that comes to, that once that process is coming to her realization, we go to the working of her inherited family trauma using the profound methods of Trammogram and family constellation. So I just gave you an example of how a Trammogram looks like. And family constellation is another scientific method which was invented by Sir Bert Hellinger. You can know more about family constellation, and there's also a course coming up. I'll talk to you about it. Okay. So we worked on her dynamics with her parents and why she inherited such a heavy fate. And this process was pretty deep, and it was revealing for her. So it took her time, and it's like sometimes when a client proceeds to heal, there's a lot of unaddressed pain and sadness that shows up. But what happens is, the difference is when we work with a professional, this pain can be given a direction which is healthy. It can be transformed and accepted in a manner where I don't feel weak because of it. I rather feel whole, because this pain is something that has always been there, but I was not aware of it. So now, when we become aware of something which has been there and impacting us, it might feel a little difficult in the beginning. There might be symptoms like, sadness and pain, and they can get emotional, but it feels like a catharsis. It feels like a release that has been waiting to come off for such a long time. So it's a healthy release. And versus when we simply sulk into sadness, that is not a healthy expression. That is something which simply deepens the whole experience for us. Okay. So this part is where she had this experience of pain, and at the same time, this release that she has been waiting for. Okay. So when she was able to process that pain, the next step that we went on to was having dedicated rituals that Linda was guided to perform in the memory of her elder brother. So her elder brother was now included, acknowledged, given his position as the first child and Linda being the second child, acknowledging his role and position in the family for 21 days. So these rituals are not standard as such. Um, I decided according to the family system, according to the history, according to the whole case. So in Linda's case, it was lighting diyas and remembering her elder brother for 21 days. And she continues to do this even after 21 days because she tells it feels very relaxing and it feels very safe to the body. Okay. Now, this cannot be a mechanical process. Okay. This just cannot be a mechanical process. It has to be felt. The role has to be truly given by the heart. And if you feel that it's mechanical, if you feel that it's not coming from the heart, probably some work is pending and you need to look back and then again come to this part of healing. Okay. And the last step is integration, where all the process coupled with the strong intention to heal resulted in her freedom. She reported to be completely free from depression in a span of 3 months. So this was her case. She actually reported in a span of 3 months that she doesn't feel depressed anymore. Even if the emotions come up, she is able to handle them because I gave her certain tools and certain readings, and she feels equipped now, and it doesn't stop her from being herself or expressing herself. She also, in fact, reported how she could realize that the constant blaming was actually a way for her to ignore the pain that she was carrying. But what happens is, in this process of ignoring and distracting, when we, blame someone outside of us, what actually happens is we simply delay the realization, we simply delay and the process where we can know and change our realities. Okay. All right. So, okay. So it's not, we are already on time. It's 8. So I'll come to this part now. Okay. So you can take 1:1 individual sessions with me. I work online on Zoom, and this is a safe space. The all the information that we share is confidential. It goes without saying. So be rest assured that if you walk into this space of healing, you can feel that there's no need of judgment. There's no need of analyzing, and all you need is an intent to find a direction that helps you, that guides you, that allows you to tap into your potential and gather courage. Because when we live a certain way, there's a lot of resistance if we try to take a path which is different. So try to look at the resistance and also try to look at the possibility and choose what is best for you. Okay. So I've had cases where a client's issue, so I'm answering this because a lot of people ask me this, so I thought of answering this here. That I've had cases where a client's issue is resolved in 3 sessions, whereas a case where it took us 12 sessions. Linda, for example, came in for 9 sessions before she could report that she is free from her depression and can very well take care of her emotions from here on. So each life is unique, just like, how I was telling to Mohit right now, that each person is distinct, each person is unique, and we experience life individually. So we need to look at our lives in that manner. So the healing journey will also be unique. So refrain from asking the question that how long will it take to heal, and rather allow yourself to imagine a scenario where you are empowered enough to manifest a life of infinite possibilities, and then ask the question, What will it take for me to go ahead in this direction of healing and possibilities? This is one question which you must all go back, and take this as a gift and start asking this question. Don't answer it. Let the answer emerge for you. Okay? Because when we are constantly giving answers to our questions, there's no space for any new answer. Okay? So ask the question, keep asking the question. Don't feel the urge to answer it. Let the answer emerge for you. So I'll repeat the question: what will it take for me to go in the direction of my healing and possibilities? Okay. This is something that you can take note of. Each session is priced at INR 13,500 or USD 200. There are retainership model available. There is EMI option available, and you can contact me through any of this. Okay. Also, you can, one second. Just give me 1 second. Yeah. So I'm going to take a minute to introduce all of you to this amazing course that is coming up in February. And it's called the Systemic Medicine course, Trauma Healing with Family Constellation. Here, not only do you learn about how a family system operates, how trauma percolates down to generations, and how we heal from them using family constellation as a modality, you will also see a lot of healing experiences in the course itself. So it is not just a course where you will get educated, it is also a course where you will find your own healing. Okay. So if a group workshop is something that interests you more, and also if you are simply curious enough to know about this modality and to maybe one day practice it, you can start your journey right here. Dr. Gaurav Deka is an international trauma expert. He's my mentor and trainer since last 3 years, and absolutely phenomenal in this field. So he is actually an expert in the modalities of inner child healing, regression therapy, family constellation, and this is his flagship course. And I will be assisting all of you as one of the supervisors in this course. So if you want to know about this in detail, please visit www.thesystemicmedicinecourse.com. Okay. And for any queries, you can contact Dr. Gaurav at this number, or you can contact me as well. Okay. So I hope this is where I would like to end the class. I've taken 4 minutes extra. So let me know if you all have any questions, any doubts, or anything you would like to say. Okay. So I think, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for all your beautiful comments. Thank you. Great. So I'll see you again. Have a great Christmas. Wishing you all a very happy new year, and take care, all of you. Take care.